Today we're talking to Collin, who lost 60 pounds in just 6 months. But before he started losing weight, he spent an entire year trying with no luck. He also used a tool I've been skeptical about, one I didn't really think to use, and he told me how he broke free from calorie counting. Success stories are where we see what specific things brought someone success from the mounds of information online, where they followed the rules and where they broke them. Let's get into it. So Collin, you're here today because over just 6 months, you lost 60 pounds.
Yep, it was about 6 months. It was a lot longer actually trying to get there. Really the bulk of the fitness journey happened in about 6 months. So that's kind of where I saw the most progress was from about August 2024 until March of this past year, so 2025.
The most progress. When did the journey itself start?
So I've always been a chunky dude. I've always been on the husky side. When I was riding mountain bikes and I was involved in the outdoor industry, it was a lot easier to keep the weight off, and my average weight was like somewhere around 200, 205. When I moved back to Michigan during COVID, I started gaining weight. Just being like a remote worker, desk job sort of thing. So I very quickly went from like 205 to about 225. And I was like, dude, like this is not good. This does not feel good. So it was about August of 2023, something kind of clicked, and I was like, all right, I got to start getting in the gym. I got to start getting back, figuring out what's going on here. So I started going to the gym about 3, 4 times a week, really like not with any sort of like set plan. And I was focusing on doing like a lot of chest, trying to do as much cardio on like a rowing machine as possible because I don't really like riding a stationary bike because it doesn't really transition to anything else with two wheels. So I did a lot of like rowing. So anyways, yeah, so from about August 23 to August 24, I didn't see much progress. Like I lost like probably 10 pounds, but for the amount of effort that I felt like I was putting in, I just wasn't seeing the progress that I wanted to see.
What was the spark that started everything?
I saw photos of myself at the wedding and I was like, "Whoa, I don't look like that. Like that's not actually what I look like." So, I was like, "All right." That was kinda like the "this is real" moment.
At the start, what did you think mattered to lose weight? Because you went an entire year with little progress.
I thought it was just, purely levels of activity. So, I've always been an active person in the sense of, like, I ski 2 or 3 times a week, right? I ride dirt bikes, once a week or ride mountain bikes once a week, but I didn't really take into consideration, like, how my calorie output wasn't really consistent combined with like what I was taking in. And that includes everything from like a beer here and there or like not choosing the right thing to snack on when I did get hungry. So it was just like a very kind of like a broad sort of like little things that were just making it add up into a problem.
How did you keep this up for a year with no progress?
I was just kind of like blissfully ignorant at the time, I was just like, dude, like I'm starting to feel better. Like I could feel myself like kind of getting stronger and like I could feel like, I had like the glimmers that were like, okay, something is happening, but it hasn't really like hit this whole metamorphosis where it all happens at once. Like it hasn't really clicked yet. So I was like just waiting for the click, click, click. And then so finally I think instead of getting like frustrated, I was talking to my wife about it, who, she's super athletic. She takes care of herself. She's really into CrossFit. And I'm like, dude, like it's been a year, nothing's happening. What's going on? She's like, well, you got to try counting calories. I'm like, okay, so like I'll do that. Like, let's start that. How do I do that? She's like, okay, well, try this app, where you're gonna go psycho. She knows I'm a data analyst. She knows I'm psycho. So I took it. I hyper fixated on it. I went OCD. I tracked everything for a while. We can circle back on that, but she's like, yeah, just you got to start counting calories and like really figure out like what your net input versus net output is, and that's where you're gonna make it, make a visible difference, and that's where you're gonna see a difference. So that's what I ultimately started doing in August of 2024.
Yeah, what app did you use?
It's called My Net Diary.
Oh, okay, I've never heard of that one.
I hadn't either, and I know there's like a lot of people that haven't. But what I liked about this app was, it had an AI feature. So like I could just take a picture of my meal and it knew like what was in the meal and like could calculate macros off of that. I'm not saying it's like 100% dead on, spot on accurate, but it worked for me pretty well.
Yeah, I've always been a little skeptical of those being really inaccurate. But you're saying you found success using it. Did you use it from the beginning?
I did the first probably month and a half without it, and then I started using the AI feature just out of curiosity and out of ease. A lot of my job is experimenting with AI, so I kind of like try to do it in my personal life too. So, yeah, so I was like, all right, well, let's see how accurate this thing actually is. So before that, like I'd have to like manually go in and like, okay, if I'm gonna eat chicken breast, I had a little digital scale. I said, okay, I'm eating 1 pound of chicken breast. I'm eating, two scoops of rice. Let's see how accurate this thing would be. So I would, weigh it out, write it out, and then I would take the AI scanner and I'd do it. And it was like so marginally, minusculely, like, different that it didn't matter, and it was way easier.
Did hand tracking before help you use it better, or did that honestly not really matter?
100%. Having that background knowledge of, like, just being able to approximate what certain things were just by doing it manually definitely made it a lot easier to kinda trust what was the AI was, kind of picking up. And actually, you could actually tweak some of those features too after, like, you scanned it, like so, like, if I scanned that chicken, for example, and it, maybe recorded it as 3/4 of a pound, but I knew it was a pound, you could actually, like, go in there and kind of adjust it, and it actually learned from that, which I thought was cool because obviously AI learns, so I thought that was just, like, cool little, tweaks and features that you could do with it.
How did you stop counting calories?
My wife got frustrated with me. She actually was the one that told me like, "Hey, okay, you've got where you're at. I think you've got this figured out to a point where you don't need to, rely on this tool so much." So she actually is the one that kind of told me to, start doing it on my own and stop essentially tracking, which I'm glad she did because I don't want to say it was a crutch, but I'd probably still be doing it just out of like the OCD-ness inside of me. But she's like, "Dude, you got this figured out. You don't need it." And so I stopped using it in March of this past year, and I have maintained the weight of like I've been at 165 average since then. So
At what point did you feel you didn't need to count calories anymore?
I wasn't using the app from about March till June, but I was always just like really nervous about things. And so I broke my collarbone in June. Like I had a dirt bike accident. So I had a full collarbone surgery here. I got like 11 screws in a plate. So it was like during that time, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna gain so much weight. Like I can't go to the gym, I can't do anything. Like this is gonna be detrimental to my progress and to my psyche. So I dropped weight, like which is pretty unheard of in a beginner. I would drop from 165 to 157, still maintaining how I was eating, just doing a lot less exercise. I was still like walking a bunch, but I was like, whoa, like okay, so maybe I'm onto something here because I'm staying, when I'm healthy, I'm staying about this 165 and I'm still eating, pretty well on my own and kind of like eating what I want to eat. So then after I recovered and I really started getting back to the gym and pushing it hard again, this was about August. I'm like, okay, well, how do I figure out how to like gain muscle and like gain definition? So that's really what I've been focusing on the last few months is like trying to stay physically the same size and physically the same weight, but gain muscle. So I started doing like another, I don't want to say it's a crutch, that's another tool in toolbox, I guess. An in-body scan once a month. So I started that back in September. So I've had three now. And just like directionally knowing like when muscle mass is going up, when fat's going down, when they're both going up or going down, which is something that I recently encountered, and just like not getting upset about it and like just knowing like things like that are normal. And at this point I'm happy and I'm satisfied. So like I'm at a good spot, but like yeah, I want to like just see what else I can do from like a kind of a confidence and like physiological standpoint. Yeah.
When you really started losing weight, how helpful was the strength training? Did it matter?
It did. Oh, 100%. Gave me a great foundation. Just going there and just having like the routine of it all and the discipline, like even though I didn't know like what the heck I was doing, it was just like showing up, becoming like consistent with it. I think that's like such a hard part where yeah, there's probably more efficient ways to like get the ball rolling. Like if I would have hired a trainer right off the bat, like that would probably would have been great. But just like at least if I was failing forward by at least showing up.
So, how did you handle failures?
Um, just keep showing up, honestly, that's really what it is, like, yeah, things don't always work out exactly like how you thought it would, or, you know, you just can't let it get to you. Like, you gotta be resilient. Like, if it doesn't work out right away, you go back tomorrow. Or like, I was never too hard on myself if I went like over calories. Like, I rarely haven't, but if I went like over 100 calories or over 200 calories, I wouldn't try to like make it up the next day or anything, because that's how you have like, those mental sort of games and trying to like go down rabbit holes of like body dysmorphia and things like that. So I was just like, you know what? I just gotta, every day is just like, you take it for what it is.
I call that extremely healthy from a mental health perspective. Now, how much did your diet change over time?
Dude, that's what's so crazy is I can't like pinpoint one thing. Like, okay, so when I started counting calories, obviously the first thing I read up on and like started learning was like protein max, right? You want as much protein as possible, then you have carbs, and then you have fats at the bottom. So I was doing like, and actually in the app that I could do, I'd be like, okay, my goal is gonna be 70% of my daily intake is gonna be protein, and 20% is gonna be carbs, and 10 is gonna be fat. So I rolled with that for about 3 months, which was like that helped a lot. Yeah, yeah. So that was interesting. And then right about February, I was like 40, 40, 20. So I do 40% proteins, 40% carbs, 20% fat. Right now, I don't track like anywhere near, like, my goal is to be between 165 and 180 grams of protein a day, but outside of that, I've really stopped like focusing on it a whole bunch. Like, I know what to eat, what not to eat. I've never been a huge fast food person or like a huge pop drinker, so that was never really an issue. It was just like, when I was 2 or 3 years ago working remote, like it'd be lunchtime. I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna make a can of tomato soup and a grilled cheese. Like, that's probably not like, you don't know I had no idea what was going in there, right? So now, like for lunch, what I'll do is I'll have like chicken breast and rice, because I like chicken breast, I like rice, or I'll throw some barbecue sauce on there, because you gotta make it different. You gotta keep that going. So I'll do that. My wife is a great cook. She makes like breakfast sandwiches for us, which is super fun. But I like protein shakes too. And oh my god, dude, when I was first starting out, I was so bad. I was like, yeah, protein smoothies. This is so healthy. Like 2 scoops of protein powder, like 2 spoonfuls of peanut butter, and we're gonna do like a banana, an apple, and like milk, and it's like 1,200 calories right there, right? But it makes sense. You think it's healthy, but yeah, it's obviously like it could be if like you're trying to recover and trying to like build calories up. Yeah, it's a great thing. But like to do that for breakfast and then go have like grilled cheese and tomato soup for lunch, and then have like steak and a baked potato for dinner, like that's a big day of eating. And I guess I never really like added that all up in my head.
So, how did you start to get a grip on stress eating, emotional eating, really eating beyond hunger?
Just being more conscious of it, being like really like stopping and be like, okay, am I really hungry right now? Or is like, am I bored? Am I stressed out? Like, why do I want to eat right now? And trying to work through that like more on the mental side.
Along with the mental health, do you have any other tips?
I drink a lot of water. I've always drank a lot of water, but I've definitely say my water intake has probably doubled since, you know, probably about a year and a half ago. Like I got, this is what I drink right here. I think this is like 40 ounces. Usually I would drink like 2 of those a day. Now I drink like 4 of those a day. I'm just like always just drinking water. Yeah.
Oh, okay, and that helps.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely gives you a full feeling.
Anything else that has happened with your appetite over your weight loss?
I definitely feel like I get more full a lot faster now than I did, 2 years ago. Like it
Oh, really?
yeah, I definitely can't eat as much, and I noticed I learned that the hard way last Thanksgiving. I got really sick last Thanksgiving, like trying to eat like I normally would, and I was just like, oh my god, like I gotta go throw up right now, and I'll leave some blanks, but yeah.
How long did that take to happen?
Um, it was about a year. Yeah, I would say from November of 23 to November of 24. November of 24 is probably when it hit the most. Yeah. My wife and I, we split a lot of meals now. Just because like I was starting to take home leftovers, which is something I've never done before.
Where did you get your nutritional information?
A lot of it was like just kind of reading things on Reddit of like people saying, "Oh, high protein diet," back out the carbs. And I did try to do keto at one point, like before.
How'd that go?
Oh, it was horrible. That was like fall of 2022. Because there's just so much restriction, right? It was so brutal. So fall of 2022, before I started getting in the gym a bunch, I was like, okay, well, let me just try like changing the diet and just really focus on like cutting out carbs. And I was like, well, this is kind of silly because I just feel like I'm gonna gain all this weight back once I start eating carbs. And I didn't gain, or I didn't lose a lot of weight. Like I lost like maybe 5 pounds, but yeah, I gained it all right back when I started eating carbs again. And the only thing I was really doing was like restricting myself.
How much did your diet change or not change when you hit your goal weight?
I'll say by the time that I got there, everything had been like kind of level setting itself where it didn't feel like a lot, but when you like look back at it, it's obviously notable. It's noticeable. It's kind of like acclimating a fish. Like if you get a fish from the grocery store and you have the water tank at home and the bowl at home, you can't just throw the fish in the bowl because it's gonna die. But if you set the fish on there and you let the water bags kind of like find the same temperature as the bowl and kind of acclimate it, right? It's normal. I feel like that's what more happened than anything. It wasn't like one day it was like a total switch, but yeah. So I guess kind of to circle back on that. So about March is when I really kind of felt like I was in a spot where I wanted to be. So then it was just like, okay, so how do I kind of compartmentalize this part of like tracking all the calories and everything and still go out and enjoy myself and be social and not have to freak out about it. And that really came back to planning to not plan, if that makes sense. And I know that's a weird way of saying it, but it's like, we'd say, hey, Friday night, we're going to go out, we're going to go have dinner at a restaurant. I want to be able to like eat something that I like and not have to feel guilty about it and not have to worry about it. And, how do I do that? And for me, a lot of that was, just holding myself accountable for like 5 other days so that when day 6 came along, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go enjoy what I like to do and I'm going to enjoy it for this one day. And then tomorrow on day 7, it's going to reset again.
Did you do this during your weight loss and maintenance?
No, this was mainly in the maintenance. When I was in like the weight loss phase, I was way more strict. I would move on when I would like go over by a little bit, but I never let myself go over more than a little bit. Like I was pretty structured in that regard.
What do you feel like you still struggle with?
I've got like $100 gift card to Five Guys that I just can't pull myself to use because it was like, dude, I know if I walk in there, that's gonna be like 3,000 calories. I'm like, I really gotta earn that. But like at the same time, like, do I have to earn that or can I just go do that? So that's kind of like this mental juggernaut in my head right now. I was like, I have it, I could go do this, and I want to go go grab a burger and fries at Five Guys, but I just know how bad that is. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's tough because I want to earn it. Like I like like doing bike races or doing like big things and like having that not be a reward because I think that's toxic. But like I think that's something that a little bit that I still kind of struggle with. Yeah.
We always hear about willpower, motivation, habits. Which of these did you lean on the most?
Yeah, that's it was for me. I was like, okay, I started this. I don't in my personal and in my professional career. I don't like to redo work. I don't like to have to go back and fix something once I've done it. So it's just like I've started down this path and I feel like I'm in a good spot. And, right now I want to keep that going. But if we go back like a year and a half ago, yeah, there were days where I didn't want to like get out of bed at 6 a.m. And I always did because I knew it was just like forming the habit, like you said. And it was just like less about the more motivation and more about just do it. Because I've never left the gym upset that I went to the gym. I've never been like on the drive home. I've never been like, man, I shouldn't have gone to the gym today. Every time I leave the gym, I'm like, I'm so glad I did that. Like yeah, it was just a great way to start the day, and then you feel charged up for the rest of the day. So I use that a lot.
For you, what felt like it took more effort? Losing the weight or keeping it off?
I'm kind of struggling with this because I feel like I'm now to the point where I'm not. naturally eating enough calories and enough protein, and I'm kind of starting to lose muscle mass. So I'm trying to figure out like, but I'm not hungry. So, is that because of my injury that I'm trying to bounce back from, or is that because I'm like not eating enough? So I'm really trying to figure that out because it's starting to get a little psychological. So I will say I have started introducing new exercises into the routine, which is, kind of interesting. It took me a year to get a pull up, by the way. That's crazy, dude. Like the first pull up was just like mind blowing. Holy shit, I can do this. Like,
Any other big moments?
the 5K when I ran a 5K in under 25 minutes. Yeah, that was a big one. I was like, holy shit, yeah.
It kind of sounds like you have a new type of challenge in your life. You aren't really worried about weight coming back. It's kind of off to the next level.
No, 100%. That's what it's at right now.
Were there any unknown benefits from losing all of this weight?
Yeah. um being able to wear cool clothes. I was previously like a 36, 32 pant. I'm a 32, 32. So, being able to wear like cooler, like sort of outfits and clothes is a huge one, but the huge downside of that is like, dude, I've had to buy all new clothes. I spent like so much money buying clothes. Like not even like I'm not a designer guy. Like I don't care. Like it doesn't label doesn't matter, but just like, oh, I need to go buy a new button-up shirt because the last three I had for this fall and this winter don't fit me anymore. So like my wife and I went to Goodwill last night and bought like three button-up shirts for me because I went from an XL to a medium.
So, what other tools have you used that maybe we haven't discussed yet?
Garmin has been huge. That's one endorsement I would give, and that's one thing I would plug is like a good fitness watch. I'm a Garmin guy. I love Garmin. I have handhelds. I have a lot of their products, but what I like about Garmin is the calorie approximation that it gives you, which is nice. The route tracking and everything, obviously that's a huge win, but like just the daily analytics that I get from like, okay, I did X amount of steps, I did X amount of calories, I did what they have as like your optimal, workout zones. Were you productive, were you maintaining, are you in recovery, which you can get into that because they sandbag you a little bit on some of that stuff, but just being like directionally knowing that you can move one way or another, and trying to figure out what you need to do.
Anything else?
And chat gpt, I gotta throw it out to my robot. That's helped a lot.
Ooh, in what ways?
Trying new exercises, um planning out my sort of schedule. So like we've been talking about dirt bikes like a lot. Let's stick to that one. So like if I'm gonna ride, if it's Monday and I want to ride on Sunday, how do I benefit the most time at the gym while still having enough gas in the tank for Sunday? So here's the list of exercises I want to do. I want to be in there for an hour a day. Here's where I want to focus on. All right, now tell me how to do this as thoroughly as possible, but not burn myself out.
Did you hit any weight loss plateaus? And if so, did you have to adjust your calories at all?
So I never hit a plateau, and I don't know how. I could not explain how, other than I was using an app. Um, I lost on average about 2 pounds a week. Um, and I was using my Net Diary, so that was that app, which also had an integration with Garmin. So one of the features that I was able to enable was the Garmin calorie output estimates. It would automatically take that and put it into your daily calorie limit. Now you can choose what percentage of calories you would like to account for. So I never did 100%. So like if Garmin said I burned 400 calories at the gym, the app would allow you to make up those 400 calories throughout the day. I always thought that was too risky, so I always did a 50% approximation. So if Garmin said I did 400 calories at the gym, my Net Diary would give me a bonus 200 calories for the day to hit. So I always thought that was kind of like the best way to maintain it in a deficit. And if that wasn't enough, who cares? I'm still losing weight, right? But if it was too much, it wouldn't. I didn't think it would be too much where I'd go over by a lot.
But now you don't count calories at
No,
all.
no, I keep like a running tally through my head, but it's nothing that I'm like overly stressed about. Like,
Yeah, I imagine it doesn't even take much mental effort because you've developed such a strong foundation on
yeah,
calories in your own food environment. It probably feels like second nature.
exactly. It's a gut feeling where like, okay, I had two bagels for lunch today. I probably don't need rice, and I probably don't need like a baguette at dinner. Like I was gonna do chicken thighs, and my wife made chicken thighs and salad for dinner. We did have a little bit of couscous, but she's like, "Do you want a baguette at dinner?" I'm like, "No, I had 2 bagels for lunch, I'm good."
So do you cook a lot?
We cook a lot. We've always cooked a lot. We love to cook. My wife loves to cook. I love to cook, which makes it fun. So I'm not a hunter, but we have hunters in the family, so we get deer every year. And dude, deer, venison, like venison steaks, backstrap, ground venison. Um, that's been like game changer. And then we have a Blackstone, which is super fun because we like to make our own like stir fries. Shrimp are crazy. Like I didn't realize how good shrimp are. Like you have to eat so many shrimp before they're bad for you. That's like so high in protein and so low in calories. That's like a superfood that I don't think enough people are talking about.
Along with protein, which sounds like one of your biggest dietary changes, were there any others that you felt were just key to your success?
Yeah, filling up on protein is huge. And then just snacks, like watching what you snacked on, like nuts. I can't tell you how not bad I thought nuts were. I thought nuts were great. They're friggin' nuts, but they're also calorie bombs, right? Trail mix, anything like that. Like I still love pretzels. Like pretzels are the one sweet or kind of salty treat that I'll keep in the house. But knowing how many pretzels you have to eat to be like one serving, I can kind of like justify it because like and like those little pretzel nuggets, you have to eat like 11 of them to get 100 calories. So I'm like, dude, 11 pretzels, like that fills me up like right now. Like we're good.
So you did find some convenient foods that fit your diet to snack on.
Yeah, 100%.
Is there anything else you want to sign off with?
Um, no, this has been super cool. I'm glad you reached out. This is something that I do enjoy talking about. So it's cool to like talk to someone that actually, can have this conversation and get excited about it.
That was Colin, but that was just one journey. I have captured many journeys, and each one gives you new things to try in ways that are often realistic. Subscribe, and you'll get to watch them as they're released. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.